The Evergrande is such an important real estate developer, and it will be a strong signal if anything happens to it. I believe there will be some supporting measures from the central government or even the central bank trying to bail out the Evergrande, but the overall guiding principle for the property sector won't change. So the central government has been tightening the property market since 2017. And even this year, with the pressure of economic slowdown, we haven't really seen a relaxation of the property market restrictions for a few good reasons. I think the number one reason is that if the housing market price is going down in a drastic manner, that could potentially cause systemic financial risks, which is the exact thing that central authorities want to avoid. And beyond that, there's also a concern that the property market in China's largest cities are absorbing too much capital, which is reducing the capital available for deep technologies. So now we have seen a lot of regulatory change in China, and they are all going towards the same direction. And the central government want to redirect the capital to the most innovative regions, and those regions certainly are not property market.
Right. And so what sort of timeline are you working with, Dan, before the skeletons tumble out of the closet? Because, we have been tracking the story for a while, and it seems to be a scare. It seems to be an overhang for the market, but something that's not materialized in reality because there's been enough backing from the system. And so is there a timeline when things go haywire or awry?
I don't think there is a clear timeline, but if the past examples of dealing with those commercial banks or any indication, it usually would last 6 months to a year for this matter to be resolved. But in the meantime, I think there would be signals sent out from the local government and central government on how this matter would pan out. Also, there will be private investors being encouraged to get into this matter, being a strategic investor or trying to buy up some of the shares of the company. So I'm not too worried about actually the companies going under because the ripple through effect is simply too significant.
Okay, and what sort of support do you expect, additional support essentially coming in from the regulators to control what's happening in the property sector?
For the property sector in China, there are two property sectors actually. There is the property sector for large cities, which is in fact performing quite well. There's a strong momentum for the housing price to go up. So the main task for the central government for this part of the market is to contain the housing price, to prevent it from growing too fast. But when it comes to the housing market in small cities and counties, then the bigger problem is how to stabilize the housing market and prevent it from being collapsed. Because in the past decade, there was a severe problem of excess inventory in those small cities. And it is a much daunting task, actually, to contain the risk in those regions. So there are some efforts trying to repurpose those housing to be for other use, like for garage, for low rental housing. And there's quite strong restriction on how many more new housings can be built. So I think in the coming years, there will be strong incentive for all levels of government to build more state-backed housing, low rental housing, instead of those market-based commercial housing.